What's going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kegges back with you. It is Wednesday, July 22nd. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day as Tuesday comes to an end to hang out with us here at News 6 Weather live at 9:30. Do me a favor, post in the comments where you're tuning in from tonight. If you have any questions, of course, through the course of the show, hit me up. I'm going to do my best to answer those questions tonight. Tonight was brought to you by the Lighthouse across Central Florida. We had St. George Island, courtesy of our friends at WeatherStem. Above me is Kissimmee, and below me there in the Brady Bunch box is Neptune Beach in the northeast corner of the great state of Florida. Thank you guys a ton for being here. Again, let me know where you're watching from. If you have any questions, post those in the comments. We are live, as always, on News 6 Plus. That is a free download. If you are watching on YouTube and want to watch on the big screen, of course, you can get all of our News 6 content for free on News 6 Plus and on YouTube, of course. We're talking on YouTube. All right, so up first, this kind of was the fresh, quote-unquote, breaking thing to happen since we talked in the news at 6 o'clock. The Hurricane Center officially highlighted a little disturbance off the Atlantic side of Florida. Now, we talked about this last week and this week and on the news tonight, so it doesn't matter that the Hurricane Center highlighted it. They are watching it for the Gulf side. We are going to get all into that. And then we're going to talk Tropics long range. The Climate Prediction Center issued their weekly outlook through the middle of August. So now we have their insight through the middle of August as to what they believe could happen in terms of tropical development. So you'll want to stick around for that. We're going to get that on the other side of the break. Before we get into that, though, more storms coming tomorrow, courtesy in part of that thing that the Hurricane Center highlighted. And then, of course, in the last 5 or so minutes of the show, we are going to get all into your comments as you sound off. What's going on, Nick, in Kissimmee? You guys got some rain today, about 2.5 inches of rain in the rain gauge, at least at the airport. Limitless lightning from Clearwater. We'll talk about your forecast coming up in just 1 second. All good, Kelly. Hope you are doing well. Thanks for coming back to the show. The Shellnut family, as always, Melissa, loyal viewers tonight. Really appreciate you guys being here. Okay, so this is it. 10%. That's all it is. And I kind of did a little eye roll tonight whenever they highlighted it. There's an opportunity for it to develop as it goes west. You see the little blob. And if you remember last week at this time, we were literally talking about the same kind of setup moving across Florida and then going to the Gulf. This time around, you see that yellow blob. If you remember, if you go back to your photogenic memory, the blob was a little bit further north. So this is going to have a little more time over water to try to get its act together a little bit before it moves toward Texas. So it's going to skirt the North Gulf Coast and then head towards Texas. It may have an opportunity to develop. We're going to take a little bit more of a deep dive into this in about 10 minutes, give or take, in our full out tropical session. So if you are here for the tropics, I changed the title in the last hour. It was all about the rain in Florida, and we are going to get to that. But just thought I wanted to get this on the forefront, that there was a kind of a change from the evening, from if you were watching the news at 6 o'clock, and I hope you were, to now. And again, I just wanted to be clear here that even though there is a highlight and a little X marks the spot off of the Atlantic Florida coast, this means nothing to us. This changes nothing to our forecast. So that's why I wanted to hit this head on tonight. Speaking of head on, some crazy clouds out there. By the way, if you have the News 6 weather app, sign up for Pin It. That's kind of like the News 6 Instagram, I like to call it. You can submit your photos to it. You can scan that QR code if you're watching on the big screen. If you have the free News 6 weather app, not only can you get the forecast, and you will get the forecast from us, but there's a section to submit your weather photos, and you can get them to us, and then they pop up on the map like this. So we have a great shot here of the dark clouds and some of the rain in the background from Christmas. And then our own chief meteorologist, Candace Campos, submitted this next one here. I jumped the gun and I went a little too far. I don't know why it's not advancing. It's being weird today, but we're going to manually take a trip down to Melbourne Beach. Her friend submitted this picture, and Candace pinned it on her behalf. Check out the shelf cloud, man. This is a great shot here in Melbourne Beach as those storms are rocking through Melbourne. By the way, if I have anybody tuning in from the Space Coast, Melbourne, Palm Bay, we set a new record today in Melbourne at the airport. We picked up 2.82 inches of rain today in Melbourne, breaking our new daily record across the board. Now, this is wild because I know a lot of our friend from Clearwater mentioned that limitless lightning. We hardly got anything. So this is the deal today. All the heavy rain, this was kind of wave one northwest of I-4. Palm Coast, certainly Ocala. We had flash flood warnings all over the place today, northwest of Ocala, in Ocala with the heavy rain. This was kind of wave one this morning. And then wave two developed just southeast of I-4, just south of Edgewater, and then worked its way down towards the Space Coast. So it was like parting of the I-4 corridor in terms of those storms. The further northwest you are, the wetter you were, and then the further southeast you were, the wetter you were. Again, we were mainly dry from about Leesburg to Claremont to Clearwater to Apopka to Sanford for the most part today. Whenever you're looking at where the rainfall fell, where the rain fell today. So just some wild stuff. I want to show you, let me stop this loop here, and we're going to go to the rainfall, and you're going to see this on a larger scale here as I kind of back this up and look. Let me turn the lightning off because that's the current lightning, where the heaviest rain fell. So I'm going to be watching you guys closely in Marion County, all that stuff tomorrow if we get more rain there. And then I do think we will get more rain tomorrow as we watch things kind of go from the Big Bend to Ocala. So this is going to be the zone that I'm really watching, again, mainly northwest of Ocala. This was, again, today, 7-8 inches of rain fell in just a few hours. So some wild stuff around Ocala. And then we picked up about 2 to 3 inches around the Melbourne area. Palm Bay had some flooding reported in and around Melbourne area. Again, all related to this system that is now highlighted by the Hurricane Center. And again, I just want to be clear, and that's one of the reasons why, we hang out together, because it might look a little, okay, what's this little X doing over here? What's this little highlight in the Gulf? Is it going to do anything? And it may develop a little bit as it works its way. And we'll take a closer look at that in about, let's see, it's 9:36, in about 5 minutes. But I wanted to give you guys the rundown on the Florida forecast first. If I know I have a lot of people that tune in from all over the state, so we're making the forecast kind of discussion, if you will, the weather setup breakdown of the forecast more Florida centric on this show, which I love because I know a lot of people are up and about and moving from different corners of the state. It's a great area, a great state to live. So we're going to highlight a lot of that stuff. But this little L here is what could get out over the water and kind of make a transition from a non-tropical low to a tropical low. We'll get into the nitty-gritty about that in a few minutes, as I keep on saying. But I wanted to show you the rundown here to kind of plan your day a little bit for tomorrow. There goes some of the thunderstorms out over the Gulf. As we get into tomorrow, there's 11 o'clock, so I do not think for most of us we have a repeat performance. I think there will be a few showers around. And by the way, I'm waiting on the latest high-resolution model data to come in again. So if you're interested in seeing that, News 6 at 10 on News 6 Plus. Again, that is a free download. Do me a favor. If you guys have News 6 Plus or have heard of News 6 Plus, post in the comments if you have it. It's a great opportunity, especially if you like to nerd out about the weather. We've got a bunch of loops that go through Florida that have radar all the time, 24/7, and then the tropical loop. If there's a storm out there, it will be updated there first, kind of before anywhere. As soon as the Hurricane Center issues any kind of new forecast, it gets updated. So at the very least, even if you're outside of the greater Orlando, Central Florida area, if you're watching from maybe Miami or Clearwater or the Panhandle, you're still going to get some pretty cool weather content if you download News 6 Plus for free. It's also going to be on YouTube at 10 o'clock as well. Not under this link or live stream that we're watching here now, but it'll be on the same page, on the News 6 page. Melissa has it, and Kelly watches every single night. So awesome, guys. Thank you for your support and for hanging out with us. Going forward into the afternoon, this is when I think we'll start to see more of the widespread thunderstorms, and you see things kind of erupt a little bit, especially west of Orlando. So again, that's why I'm a little concerned for our friends in Marion County as we are watching the heavy thunderstorms erupt again tomorrow. As far as the high temperatures go across the state, there's a lot of blue on the map. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be cold by any means. The blue box just means that we are below normal, and we're a degree or two below normal across the state, especially the peninsula. Still warmer than normal in Pensacola. We're talking upper 80s to low 90s across the Florida peninsula, more like the mid 90s across Pensacola. The blazing heat, though, does come back for the weekend. We'll touch on that probably tomorrow a little bit, because coming up in on the other side of this 3-minute break, and I hope you guys stick with me, we're going to go in depth with the tropics, and it is going to be all because of this guy. We're going to take a look at some modeling, the development chances with this, and then if you have any questions on that, we're going to take that on the other side of the break. Again, we'll be back in just 3 short minutes. Alrighty, guys, we are so back. Welcome. Post in the comments where you're tuning in from, and we are going to get into this tropically speaking, because fresh off the press earlier this evening at 8 o'clock with the Hurricane Center's 8 o'clock tropical weather outlook time, they added a little yellow highlight in the Gulf of Mexico because of this little spinny thing over here off the Atlantic coast. It doesn't look like much. That's because it's not much. Only a 10% shot for development over the next 10 days and over the next 7 days. And again, development would happen, if it's even going to happen, as it moves away from Florida. Now, it's a little different than last week. It's going to come off a little bit further south of the Florida peninsula. Last week, it's a very similar setup, But that area of low pressure never made its way back over water. The mid-level center with all the thunderstorms that really drenched Florida last Tuesday, if you remember, that kind of stayed away. The two need to be together, and it just never materialized. Uh, we'll see if it happens now. It's still on the lower end of any kind of potential tropical development, but we have our eye on it for our friends along the North Gulf Coast and Texas. For Florida, though, this changes nothing. The fact that there is an official highlight from the National Hurricane Center. By the way, we're taking a live look tonight in Kissimmee and in Neptune Beach. While we were away on break, we also had the live look up there, beautiful lighthouse in St. George Island in the Panhandle. Love the lighthouses around Florida. I don't know about you guys, but it's really, really cool to see all that stuff. Okay, so now we're going to get into a little bit of model frenziness. This is the European ensemble. I show this a lot. The brighter the numbers, or the brighter the color, I should say, we'll get into numbers in a second, the higher the percentage that the individual ensemble members that are being run, when they're run 4 times a day, are suggesting that there will be development. So you see, as we move toward, let me get my little dabber out in the purple, it's 1%. That thing is not developing before Florida, okay? And then as you move closer, the brighter colors, as we move closer to Louisiana, especially south of Louisiana, that means 53% of the 51 models, or the 51 ensembles that make up the European ensemble suite, are on board for some kind of tropical development. They're suggesting a tropical depression is going to be possible as it skirts south of Louisiana. That's likely why they added a low percentage, because some of the ensemble guidance is starting to bump things back up a little bit. So we're watching the Gulf right there is juiced. The water temperature is so warm. It's in the upper 80s. If it can kind of stay away for some wind shear, and if it has enough time and it can find itself, if they're getting kind of working its way across the Florida Peninsula a little bit, it may have an opportunity to do so. Again, it does not appear like significant development is going to happen. Regardless, though, last week with what was Invest 93L, again, it was a disturbance. It just has that internal specific tag because the Hurricane Center runs their hurricane models on it. Once it becomes an Invest, it brought flooding rains to Louisiana. So that's the one thing I want to get across always, that don't pay attention to if it's tropical or not. If it's heavy rain and it stays over one area, it can cause flooding. And we're going to be watching that again for our friends along the North Gulf Coast, and then especially coastal Texas. Now, the other thing that I talked about in our kind of big 3 weather headlines, okay, this did load. Now it didn't load for me. I don't know what happened. Let me click on this. Well, I did have the tropical weather outlook. Let me see if I can re-download it. Over the next, as we moved into July 30th through August 5th. Let me load that bad boy again. I don't know why it's showing up blank. But anyway, I'll just show you. I'm going to pull it up straight from the source. Bear with me. All right, sorry about that, guys. But this is it. So this is the outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, and it's kind of hard to see on this map. I'll bust out the telestrator. The United States over here, okay, the Atlantic Basin. Notice that they have a 20% tag clinging to the southeast corner of the United States, northern Gulf, okay? So that's from July 30th through August 5th. Well, it looks a heck of a lot like it did last week. And what's going on right now, one of the things we talked about early on before the season is we thought that this season would be, especially early on, characterized by these homegrown storms that form off of dying cold fronts, because the water was so warm close to home, but not very warm relative to everything else in kind of the main development region. So that's why that was the calling card for that. So again, during the July 30th through August 5th timeframe, Climate Prediction Center highlighting again that we could have another cold front come down, and then something tried to get going again as we move into that July 30th through August 5th timeframe. Now you'll notice as we move towards August 6th through August 12th, this is what you love to see. It doesn't mean development is impossible. We've seen a couple of these low end, short fuse storms kind of pop up in between things a little bit. But the fact that still the Climate Prediction Center is also saying that they are not expecting any kind of tropical development, at least significant tropical development between August 6th and August 12th, you're going to get two thumbs way, way up from me. And again, that's something they release every Tuesday afternoon. So that's why I wanted to show you this today as part of the live stream, because this was kind of hot off the press. So again, good news, all things considered again. A couple of things we're watching on the tropical front before we hit our next break, and then we'll take your questions. So please throw those questions in the comment section if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, give it a thumbs up if you're finding this helpful. But some great stuff there. I will address this if Limitless Lightning, if you stay with me through the next 3 minutes. I don't think it's a busted season. I think with the stability issues we're having, and we're going to touch on this when we come back on the other side of the break, it's likely going to be a season very, very similar to last, where it is nothing, nothing, nothing. And then all of a sudden, when we start to transition into fall and the atmosphere in the upper levels starts to cool off a little bit, and we're at peak heating of the oceans, at that time, we may be able to have things go a little gangbusters. So I don't think, unfortunately, it's 2013 either. I don't think it's 2013, unfortunately. However, we'll check that stuff out on the other side of the break. Please post in the comments where you're tuning in from. We'll be right back. Alrighty, guys. So in the couple minutes we have left together, some great stuff in there. A couple of good points here. It's about the water temperature, and that's what we have to watch. That's why you kind of like some weak stuff early on. Obviously, not wishing flooding on anybody, but it helps to churn up the water a little bit and kind of diffuse some of the energy that's out there. Current anomalies across the board, where you see blue, it's below normal, so it's average to below average in the Western Caribbean. We like to see that. Eastern Caribbean, a little on the warmer side. It's super warm in the Gulf, and then really, really warm in the subtropics, which is why we thought that there'd be a lot of those kind of garbage storms in the subtropics, kind of like Andrea was a little early on. Water temperatures, and this is what we really need to cool off because we don't want, went too far there. The water temperature, again, just a little too warm. They're in the upper 80s here where you see that darker orange. I'm trying to get the dabber here to show you. 87, 88 in the Central Gulf, and then middle 80s, and then back over toward the Southwest Atlantic into the Bahamas. We're back to the low to mid 80s. And that's, again, Laura brings up the good point here. Nothing has been stirring up in the Gulf. It's getting superheated as in the Atlantic. If any storm comes our way this year, it's going to be on the stronger side. That was the one kind of fear, that it was going to be like the quality versus quantity. I don't know that we're going to run up the names like we have in years past. I think it was widely predicted that we would see kind of the storms in the average to maybe slightly above average, with some of the impacts close to land again possible. So I think really it's going to be into that mid-September, like right when we hit the climatological peak, and then through October again. It just seems like we're going to be getting into this time period, where it's all these seasons are going to be backloaded, where we have all of the stuff. I'm trying to bring up my heat content map for you, if I have it readily available. And this is the heat content here. So even though it's kind of below normal, where you see that red there, this is the fuel in the tropics. Where you see the water, or where you see the colors red here, that's where we have not only warm water at the surface, but very deep water. So if a storm goes over that and kind of churns up cooler water, it's really not that cool, and that helps to fuel them a little bit. Alrighty, guys, I ran over my time. Thank you a ton. We had a ton of people tune in. If you enjoyed hanging out with us and having the conversation with everybody in the chat, come see us again. We're here every Monday through Friday, 9:30 at night. We talk about all things tropical weather, certainly Florida weather, and then whatever you want to talk about. We get off the rails a lot on the show, and that's what I love. So hopefully I get to see you guys again. If you enjoyed what you saw, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you're on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button at the very least. I'd really appreciate that. Post in the comments where you're tuning in from. And again, catch us. We're here every Monday through Friday at 9:30 to just have all those things. And also we do, unfortunately, we have some of our worst storms on the Gulf side in October. Milton was an October storm. Michael was an October storm. And Matthew was an October storm. Nicole was a November storm. And it seems to be trending in that direction, that we're getting those mean storms later on into the hurricane season, where we're kind of moving away from the August and September. So all that stuff. Alrighty, guys, I have to run. News 6 at 10 literally starts in a minute. We'll see you on News 6 Plus and on clickorlando.com and on the News 6 YouTube page. Thank you a ton for being here. Really appreciate your support.